What's going on, YouTube family? In several of our videos, or a few of them, I'm sure you've probably noticed what most would consider an eyesore. And yeah, it's not the most glamorous thing sitting in your backyard, but that right there is an old burnt baler that I paid for. I only paid $200 for it, but that thing has come in so handy on saving money. A neighbor of mine that I've bought several pieces of equipment from buys salvaged things like this, burnt balers, burnt tractors, broken mowers and different things. And he had this, and it is the same exact baler that I run, and I've actually bought it to use parts off of it. And you would think, a burnt baler, what good parts you got off of it? Well, to start off with, all the balers have roller bars in them, like that right there, that the belts sit there and spin around on. Last year we broke two, and one at the very end of season, one about the middle way through season, and one of these bars is over $200. All I had to do is take this one out. I ended up putting new bearings in it just to make sure, but there you go. I've used two of them, so that's $400. I have a hydraulic cylinder leaking on mine that I need to fix this winter, which is this one right here. And I looked at it yesterday while I was out here robbing parts, and I'll get to that in a second. Looked at this, there's nothing wrong with it. That right there got a little hot on the bottom of that hose, but I think all in all that cylinder is still perfectly okay. I'm gonna pull it off, test it, and make sure before I rely on it, but we're gonna probably utilize that. But why I was out here yesterday is I've already got it off. I actually pulled it off the other day. It's got a drive chain that goes around that up there, all the way down to here, right there. And then it's got an idler sprocket that bolts on right here. I was looking to see if there was one on here. Actually, I remember I already pulled it off. I ended up finding it, and I'd pulled that chain off a couple years ago and soaked it in oil. The chain had gotten pretty hot, and it rusted pretty bad, just like all this right here. I soaked it in a bunch of oil. I got it out yesterday. Works just like a brand new chain. The reason I'm doing that is because yesterday we were baling hay and mine broke. It broke 3 times actually yesterday, and I put splice pins back in it. It kept breaking. The last time it did, it ended up winding around this drive sprocket right here, wadding it up and kind of chewing on the side of the chain. So I'd rather not use that. We're gonna go with the one that come off here that I've soaked in oil. That's perfectly fine. Now I've got to go back there and put it on, and we got to get busy baling hay. We were actually hoping to finish baling hay yesterday, but with the breakdown 3 times, things don't always go as planned. But I think if everything goes right today, we will be able to successfully finish and be done with the hay for the season. I started cutting Monday afternoon. I only ended up cutting about 3.5 hours. But all in all, I ended up cutting, myself, about 16 hours. Andrea cut 2 hours. And then we started in on baling. And it has been starting Monday afternoon, and now it is Saturday. It has been go, go, go. We did not get very much accomplished yesterday with the breakdowns, but we were out there all day. These things are hungry. So while me and Lane go back and finish fixing the baler, finish baling hay all day today, Andrea and Emily are going to process chickens. The more people working, doing different projects, the more efficient we are. Hey, there she is. What are you doing?
I am going to worm piglets. We don't do any kind of like medications, no hormones for sure, anything on our animals, but we do worm. We don't want our meat to be wormy. And pigs, as you know, are prone to pneumonia, and we actually have lost a piglet. I'm just so tore up about it. It's not Dot, but it was one of our...
It wasn't one of the babies, the new babies.
It's not a baby. It's like, it was big. It was like a 100-pounder probably. I couldn't pick it up by myself, so bummer. Super bummer.
That hurts.
But we had a cool snap here. A little taste of fall this week, so I don't know if that's what did it. Pigs are just really susceptible to pneumonia. That's their number one thing you got to watch out for. So, and they can get worms in their lungs. So I'm actually going to worm them to try to just do what I can.
And then while she goes and does that, I'm gonna go get the plucker out for her, have it set up. That way, when they get geared up and ready to go, they will have everything out. And you know, I guess you're gonna. It'll be the first time ever they've ever attempted it on their own.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. Normally we all work at it, but there's only 13 of these. They need to be processed, and so Emily and I are gonna attempt it. I mean, I think we can. It may just take a while. So
they're huge.
They are huge. They're way past time to be processed, so we're gonna do it today.
All right, after we got it out last night and verified that it was the right size, I went ahead and just put it back in the oil. This is just what I drain oil out of vehicles or tractor or whatever into. And I was able to lay that chain down in there and let it soak up all that oil. It was rusted up and wouldn't move, but look at that, like new.
Is that off the old baler?
Yeah, it's off the burnt baler. I put it in there a while back. Alright, let's get it outside so we don't get oil everywhere.
So when Ben and I first got married, his grandpa had just passed away and we moved on to his farm. Actually, we moved into his house. And Ben's grandpa collected a lot of things. I wouldn't call him a hoarder, but we did call him a pack rat. Like, he was a collector of things that he might need in the future. And I just didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up in the country. I grew up in town where everyone just had a small yard. So that was a lot for me to get used to. It felt like an overwhelming task that we should clean this whole place up and get rid of a whole bunch of junk, which we did have some junk to get rid of. But as I've gotten older and I hope wiser, I've definitely seen the value in what his grandpa was doing. In the country, especially if you're gonna farm and have equipment, it's just a really good idea to have spare parts and spare things. Even if you're gonna do building projects, to have spare pieces of lumber, things like that. I used to be someone who would throw away everything. I would go through a house and stuff would be perfectly good, but I just didn't want it anymore. And so to get rid of it, I'd just throw it in the trash. And I'd want Ben to clean up all his little piles. And I've just found out that there's so much more to life, and it saves us so much money having things around here to fix things when they break. It's just really handy when you're trying to live on a budget and make this farm work to have spare parts around.
All right, we just got back to the hayfield. This is day number 3 of baling. We're putting the chain back on the baler. Just had to go to the house and change one out, and then we'll be started. Alright, so we're putting a new link in the chain. These are useful for if your chain breaks or something. Alright guys, you can see behind me, we're well over halfway done with this field. It's been going perfect so far. I hope it stays that way. But yeah, we got to finish this field, then we got one bigger field to do, and we are done. Let's hope it keeps going smooth.
guys, we came around here. As you can see, Lane is pressure washing the equipment. He's gonna pressure wash the baler and the mower, get them all shiny and pretty and clean, and then we're gonna put them up for the winter. It seems like every year, sometimes every time we use the equipment, we have to make some repairs. So as winter draws on and there's not as many big projects here on the farm, we'll be doing some repairs. We've got cylinders to replace on the baler and some different things. Ben told me, I wrote it all down so that when the time comes, we can remember what to do. We do that for a couple reasons. Right now we have other pressing matters that we need the cash flow for, and those parts for those pieces of equipment that we're not gonna use again until probably next May can wait. So what we do is we just make a list, and then sometime during the winter when we have a slower time and a little more farm money coming in, then we will go ahead and replace those things, because parts for equipment can get very expensive. So we're just cleaning them up, putting them up, and we will worry with that later. Plus, we've learned over the years, there's been times we've scrimped and saved and just replaced stuff right away, and then when the next year comes, maybe you don't even do hay that year. I mean, we had a time before where we had a few cows, and we wound up getting out of them when our kids were very, very small. And so what if we'd have put our money in those parts right then, and then the next year came and we got out of cows? Of course you can sell the equipment, but that's just how we choose to do it. So how much hay did we make? Well, we fertilized before the first cutting this year, and then after that, fertilize was very, very expensive this year. And so after that, we didn't put anything on our pastures. Of course, our pastures have dramatically improved from just having the cows rotate on them. So we knew going into this cutting, we probably weren't gonna get as much as if we put some sort of commercial fertilizer on it for a second time this year. But we still did really well. We bale they're 5x5 bales. A lot of people around us bale 4x5s because 5x5s are heavier and bigger, and a lot of people sell them, and so they want smaller bales because they have more to sell if they're smaller, obviously. Also, a lot of people think 5x5s are too heavy, but our tractor has no trouble with it, and for us it's just easier to feed bigger bales less often, and just have less bales for Lane to be hauling and less to be putting out during the winter. So ours are 5x5. So that means when you hear people talk about 4x5s, obviously every time we bale 4 bales, it takes someone baling 4x5s, they have to have 5 of those bales to match our 4, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So we wound up with 147 bales off of 70 acres. So we definitely could have done better had we poured a bunch of money into fertilize, but we chose not to and just give it a whirl and see how it went. We wound up actually this year with some of our pastures improving from rotating cows and things with about the same amount of hay we baled last year on the same land, and we had to cut 3 times last year. So now we are done. It is actually the hottest day of the year here, and we are done with hay. We're so glad we're not out on the tractor today sitting in the sun. And now we're gonna let the pastures grow, and this fall we're gonna pop up. We are gonna work with Gallagher and get some more temporary fencing put up back there so that we can rotate our cows back there. It won't be anything permanent, no huge project, because we want to be able to take it down and mow again there next year. So that's how it worked out. We got over 2 bales per acre of huge 5x5 bales. We're tickled. We're super glad we're done. We're putting that equipment up and we're moving on to something else. Thanks for hanging out with us and going on this journey with us. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We'd love to have you. We appreciate all your comments you leave for us, your emails, your messages, everything that you guys do for us is so very appreciated. And we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.